Is fibromyalgia real? Well, if you've watched any of my videos, you know the answer to that. Yes, fibromyalgia is real. It's a disease that affects 5 to 10 million adults in the United States, and 1 in 20 people globally. 1 in 20. Just think about that for a minute. How can that many people experience the same symptoms and it not be real? But there's more to this story. So that is what I'd like to talk about today. So is fibro real? That is probably the most irritating thing that we might experience. So it can be very important when you're going to a new doctor to take any previous medical records that you have. It can also be important to take educational information on some of the rarer issues that you might experience. Have you ever been told it's not real? That it's all in your head? Sometimes we just have to ignore people who don't understand. We can't let it hurt our feelings because we have more important things to do, like take care of our health. I've never been outright told my fibromyalgia isn't real. I felt like people looked at me differently because of the diagnosis. And I had a doctor once who I think thought it wasn't real, at least in comparison to the people with autoimmune conditions that he treated. But I kept searching for answers. When someone hasn't had to deal with the issues that we deal with, they're not going to understand. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to be empathetic. When it comes to true friends, they'll accept you no matter what. But if you have an inquisitive friend who's trying to understand, educate them. Be open, but don't parade your health issues. And don't be a martyr. This channel is my outlet, and I have you to thank for that. For being patient with me and listening to me as I post these videos. Thank you. The fact that abnormalities don't show up on standard medical tests is not evidence that fibromyalgia isn't real. The number of real malingerers are very small and can mess it up for the rest of us. You know, those people who complain so that they can get drugs and attention. But for the rest of us, the pain is very real. So is the fatigue and sleep issues, etc. My first doctor appointment, once fibro had taken over my whole body, was met with a very empathetic doctor who didn't push my feelings and pain aside. It took me 2 years to find her. But guys, doctors who are knowledgeable about fibromyalgia do exist. And that was 14 years ago. Fibromyalgia has been around for a very long time. I did a video on the history of fibromyalgia here. Don't give up on your search for answers. If your doctor dismisses your symptoms, even though it took me 2 years, I hope and pray that the diagnosis process is much quicker today, because I think doctors are more understanding, the majority of them, about the disease. And some of you who have had it much longer than I have might have experienced an even longer time to get diagnosed. And that hurts my heart. So you may have to find a different doctor if you believe it's fibromyalgia and aren't getting a diagnosis. But remember, they still have to test you for everything else and rule out other things first. One thing for sure, our disease is complex, and a doctor might need to spend a little more time with you, at least in the beginning. Impaired brain regions have been found through neuroimaging that proves the inhibition of the body's response to pain is real. Also, when our doctors put light to medium pressure on specific areas of our body and you scream, like I did, well, something is definitely wrong. I was so embarrassed. And there is mounting evidence that we have a neurological disorder. So for those of us who feel like you're being ignored, you're being validated here. Fibro is real. I'd like to quote a section from a research article from the NIH. It says, quote, "Fibromyalgia is real. If nothing else, fibromyalgia has an entry in the 10th edition, 11th now, but I'll get to that, the 10th edition of the International Classification of Diseases," unquote. The key word here is disease, because this code book drives payments to doctors. And the ICD is almost literally a gold standard. A listing there alone imbues a disease with life. It is just the perimeters of fibromyalgia's existence that must be defined, unquote. And Dr. Bernstein authored that. And as I said, since that time, the ICD-11, which began in January of this year, 2022, distinguishes the main categories of chronic primary pain and chronic secondary pain. Quote, "It marks a deliberate move away from the practice of labeling unexplained pain," and here's the word I hate, "a somatic symptom disorder." A diagnosis of somatic symptom disorder implies that the pain is caused by a behavioral, that is, mental condition, unquote. That was Practical Pain Management, and I've linked these articles below. And even IBS and chronic headaches have a place in the ICD-11. And Dr. Claw stated in response to Dr. Bernstein's article, quote, "I applaud Dr. Bernstein for taking the position he has, because for too long, physicians have disrespected individuals with conditions such as fibromyalgia." He continues on saying, "I become extremely frustrated when I have given lectures in front of medical students or residents about the latest findings regarding the pathophysiology and treatment of this condition, only to find them go on an orthopedic or neurosurgery rotation and witness the eye roll by an attending physician when they encounter such a patient in the clinic or hospital. A single eye roll can undo hours of education. it gives that physician in training permission to disrespect and denigrate these patients in spite of overwhelming evidence that there are strong neurobiological underpinnings to this disorder. So you see, even physicians become frustrated with the negativity that can surround fibromyalgia. And don't forget, the International Association for the Study of Pain, the IASP, have now classified fibromyalgia as a nociplastic primary pain disorder. I did a video on that too. So be kind to yourself, give yourself a hug, advocate for yourself, love yourself. Our journey isn't over, it's just beginning. I hope you learned something. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you.